Hey everybody, Jay Weidner here, reality check. So hit the sub and subscribe and all that to keep me going, trying to hit 10,000. Been a long journey. Thank you for watching. I did a show the other day and it was a really good show, and it did not record on my Zoom. So I don't know what happened. That's never happened before. I don't know if they didn't like what we were talking about. It was about contemporary stuff. And I know that all the servers are in China for Zoom. So let's hope I didn't get censored. Anyway, I'm going to do the show again. It was a good show. So today, my guest is the great King Arctos. Rex Bear, the king of bears.
Right on.
How you doing, Rex?
Fantastic. It's just been one of those days, I guess, you know, as I was saying, when you go to the DMV and they tell you need your papers and you got a piece of tape on the back of your social security card, it's like, nope, sorry. Go get it. Go get your papers. This is the land of the free, home of the slave. Hurry up.
Exactly.
I'm like, are you a real person? Or there's a piece of tape on the back of my social security card. I mean, come on. Anyway, yeah. So
it's a power trip, dude. So that's the only way they can get their power, so they do it.
That's
what it is.
Her eyes were like lighting up. She's like, yes, yes.
You are in my hands.
You're in my house now, punk.
That's right,
man. I'm like, did I say something to offend you? I asked her that, and she's like, no, you just need your papers. Go get your papers. So anyway.
For those of you who don't know, Rex has a show on YouTube called The Leak Project. The interviews, he's super prolific, and he interviews and does single shows on his own, and really entertaining, really varied, incredibly varied, the amount of information that you're giving out all the time. So in your, with all these people that you've interviewed, who do you think is like the most interesting?
Well, you're definitely one of the most interesting people that I've talked to. And I mean that. I mean, when you brought up the technical aspects of the camera equipment not working on the moon and how that wouldn't work based upon data, I mean, that's a pretty big deal.
It is a big deal. And still no one can argue with me on that. He's talking about the fact that if you bring a camera up to the moon with ectochrome film in it, the film's going to get fogged. Every time you open the shutter, that frame is going to get instantly zapped by X-rays, gamma rays, synchrotron rays, all sorts of stuff bouncing around on the surface of the moon. It would make life very difficult. But how about besides me?
Sure. I think that Anthony Peake has done a wonderful job explaining things. Gerald Clark, one of my favorite guests that's no longer with us in physical form, but I know he's out there in the light realms doing some amazing work. Yeah. And you know, I had an interview recently with the guest that was describing the way Enoch broke down into astrology and astrotheology, and I thought that was a really good show. Really, you know, I mean, I've talked to so many people that it would be hard to really, I would miss somebody. I know I'm going to miss people just by
you're right.
Gotta be careful. Spot like that. You know what I mean? But man, it seems like every time we do a show, I want to take it as far as we can and get the most out of it. Every time I talk to somebody, also it seems like a synchronicity, like there's a matrix sync, like something happened earlier in the day or the day before that was linking up with that topic. And oftentimes I don't even know what my calendar looks like, because Kristen's doing the scheduling. So it's not like it's something that's predetermined, but the matrix syncs are just awesome. And they get more and more. It's like we're living in deja vu simulation matrix 3000 right now.
It does feel like that. And that's actually what I wanted to talk to you about, because one of the things that actually you did on your own was all about the archon matrix system. And that was just some really, really, really good stuff. And my fans know that I've been following that for like 20 years now. And proudly, I say, I'm the one that told David Icke about the archons and told him to read the Nag Hammadi. And let's talk about it. Well, what is
it was you that introduced Icke to that?
Yeah, it was.
Good for you.
Yeah, he had never heard of him, and most people had not heard of him. They're As you know, the Gnostics are the most wiped out people on earth. Every time that the Gnostics would start talking, they'd bring down the heat on them. And that's, I think, what got Ike interested in the Gnostics, was because, he himself had the heat coming down on him so much for just telling, what he thought was the truth. And so he figured there must be something there. And I'm so grateful because he took the ball and really ran with it. Whereas I was just kind of on the peripheral talking about interesting writings that I'd read, right? So in your view, what is this reality? What do you think it is? What's going on here?
Man, that's a great question. So it's definitely a duality. I see a duality. I see it being, there's like code in just about everything. DNA breaks down into dual binary code. The universe does seem to be holographic in nature, because you can take a piece of the universe and, for example, stem cells, and you can create organs out of stem cells. So you can take a piece of the hologram and create the whole. That's one thing that's neat about the holographic nature. But I think that this is a vibrational frequency that is the densest, or one of the densest of vibrations that the Gnostics talked about. And I think that it's just a part of our journey. I have wondered if there were entities that have kind of taken over the recycling center, like the soul recycling or soul harvesting. There's too many links with there being something that seems to be influencing the stage at a higher level. Even the way that the moon is positioned, the 28-day cycle, we're in a perfect hub for carbon life. So it seems as if this carbon life form that we're in right now, 6 protons, 6 neutrons, 6 electrons makes up a carbon atom. And that's what's interesting about the mark of the beast, is it says the mark of the beast is the number of a man, which is 666. Right. It's like, is he talking about the carbon atom? So have we been designed? I think we've been designed essentially for a multitude of reasons: entertainment, energy harvesting, work, experiments. I mean, you look at the stuff they inject people with now, and they say they're doing it to help somebody. And then you look at the ingredients and you see what oftentimes it does to people. And I wonder, why do they do that? And I think that there's something using this planet as almost like a farm. They can study us, they can learn from us. And even the technologies that we're creating, it's like they hand down stuff every once in a while. We get this reverse engineered tech, and then we come up with something that's just totally crazy, like the nuclear bomb, right? I mean, we get a lot of visits since that was detonated. Yeah. And so I think that that's kind of what we're in right now, is it's a system that the soul can, when it leaves the body, oftentimes it comes back and it's doing work for like these players. It's almost as if something's up there playing us. They're seeing through our eyes. They're feeling our actions and our energies, and we're like a live action role-playing game for them. That's kind of what I think we're in. Now, that being said, it's very real. I'm not saying it's not real. And it could be simulation in nature, but it seems as if something is harnessing our energy and something doesn't want us to reach a higher level potential. I mean, even the name human, people say you're only human, but Hugh means God. That's the word of God. So a human is a God man. Right. So we were made fascinating. We were made perfect. We were made greater than whatever created us. And then it went, I need to suppress them. It seems like ever since then, something's been going on to keep us limited. We'll get close, something will happen. We'll start to wake up on a mass consciousness. Oh no, the Cervasos demons are out. Yep. This what we're seeing right now, I see as a big giant spell. They're spell casting on us. They're using their magic, and they're using dark magic.
They are.
Like Jay, I realized today I was on the top of Durango, and I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about this. I was in about 8,000 feet, and I'm looking down at all the people, and I'm just, it's like a video game, and I'm thinking to myself, all of you are controlled opposition. You're working for the system that wants to suppress you. You're feeding the system that wants to suppress you, and oftentimes you're attacking others that want to help you. That's and exactly right. It's a game. And I just thought to myself, and I was like yelling at him, like, wake up. And I felt like, now I'm thinking about it, I felt like a bunch of just energy was permeating and coming out of my mind and all over my body. It was just going everywhere. It's wild, man. It's like you walk outside of nature and you think you'd be with nature, but when you see tourists, you see people that think they're in a hospital.
They do. And I went to Boulder last week for a couple of days just to go eat at some restaurants and things, right? And we were going to stay 2 full days and then leave it after going to the restaurant on the second night. We were going to leave and, come back south here and get home late, like around midnight or so, right? And we had a whole trip all planned out, and we get there, and the people are literally out of their minds. Sorry, people that are from Boulder watching, a lot of you aren't out of your minds, but there were so many crazy people that coming from a small town and then going into the city was like the shock of a lifetime. And we finally, at 2 o'clock or so the next day, said, this place is just too weird. Let's leave. And we just split. We just came back home, got home about 5 or 6. And, it was like just too weird, man. Just too weird. I had a woman shove me because I backed into her a little bit at the sandwich shop, right? And she got so freaked out because I got within 5 feet of her. And I didn't even know she was behind me. And she shoves me, and I just, told my wife, you know what, I'm done. Let's go. This is it. I'll just stay home until this thing blows over. But I don't think it's going to blow over. I think that this is the event that we've been talking about and discussing for years, really. We all knew that there was this event that was going to happen, that was going to be the event that the elites were going to use to change everything. And they chose this event, I think, because it's slow motion. It's hard to see it. It's hard to figure out where it's going. We all thought it would be something sudden, a big event like a terrorist act or something that would happen, aliens coming down or something that would cause an instantaneous change. But that's not how they chose to roll this one out. This is slow. This is mind control. This is fear, pure fear, and nothing but fear. That's all it is. And it's crazy that the whole world is locked down right now.
It was the perfect plan to usurp control, and it even created a new industry. So we've got this new industry that's being funded enormous amounts of money to track people, to trace people. And you go back to the year 2000, it was the year after that when that event took place. And that was a game changer event. That was a global game changer. That definitely changed the vibration. And then we started to come out of it, I noticed, and 2020 was going awesome. And then all of a sudden they just dropped the gauntlet. Kaboom! They're waking up. Make them get their papers.
Exactly.
Where's your papers?
Yeah.
This is the land of the free, home of the slave, biatch.
Yeah, we got bitch slapped.
I'm sorry, man.
We did. We had it going. It was really amazing. And then they put on all of the censorship. They began putting it on. Stefan Molyneux got kicked off of YouTube. I couldn't believe it. He's like one of my favorite philosophers. And, now he's gone forever. They took all of his stuff off. And I heard the talk that he gave, and it was about Western civilization. It wasn't about anything else. So I don't even know why he got cut off, except maybe now you can't talk about Western civilization anymore. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I got to be honest with you. I wrote it on my Facebook page today. The only thing we know for sure is that no one knows anything for sure.
Well, and see, when I was like 15, I was warned about checkpoints. I was warned about a tracking device called the Mark of the Beast that they were either going to tell you to take it, and if you didn't take it, then you were going to be or you're going to go into some type of camp. And now we're seeing checkpoints. We're seeing the tracers.
Yep.
We're seeing businesses fall left and right, these small businesses, but it's okay to go protest. The media makes a point. Oh, we're so proud of these protests. Even the ex-president of the United States, former president of the United States, Bill Clinton, came out and said, or a headline said, I see new hope with these protests. He said he saw new hope, dude. Like, what? What? I thought you didn't want people getting close together, but that you want them to topple down, you want them to throw rocks through buildings and bricks that are pre-placed, and then you want these, that's division. How is that going to help anybody? You're stirring the pot. And then you want to see police stations defunded in places like that. So, okay, you want to okay. I mean, if you're going to take over a country without having to go to war, how would you do it? You take over the media, you mind control the masses, you take over the universities, you teach people stuff that is absolutely whacked, so they're fitting the agenda. That it's literally the communist agenda took over the education system 70 years ago. And it's been getting worse and worse and worse. And there's and look into it if you think I'm making this up.
Oh, no,
there's 5 or 6 corporations that control not only the majority of the media, but also the majority of the education materials that your kids get in public school.
Yep.
It's a business.
It's a business. Exactly right. So is the media. People have to understand that. The media is a business. All they care about is advertising dollars. They'll do anything. They'll say anything to get you to watch. And almost everything that they say is wrong or fake. Eventually, it comes out. And you're like, nobody calls them out on it. Finally, CNN came out and said that that chloroquine, whatever, is now good for you, will stop the coronavirus. After months and months and months of propagandizing us that it was just all ridiculous, now they had to come, oh yeah, okay, whatever. And, same thing with the WHO. I mean, what is it, 99.3% survive the coronavirus? I mean, it's not even that big of a...
That sounds real scary, Jay.
It is. And they're using fear, and I just can't even believe it. I mean, and you can kind of tell who's who now. That's the good thing. Just by walking down the street, you can kind of tell who's who. If the person's not wearing a mask, they're probably pretty aware people. If they are wearing a mask, they're probably terrified. And I'm sorry, but and the terrified outnumber us for sure. So there's, I would say 70-30 right now of the terrified. And what can we do to get these people stop being so afraid? I mean,
I know I've got the solution. I absolutely have the solution. It's so easy. It's mind-boggling. The 30-day no mainstream news challenge. How are you going to know about something unless you turn on the TV and then everything's bad, right? I mean, they're the ones freaking everybody out anyway. So if everybody turned off the mainstream news, now if you want to go to look up something that's not the mainstream agenda, cool, go do all the research you want. But instead of going to the sources that have been feeding us propaganda, then the alternative news picks up on it, Jay. The alternative news is like, oh man, that's bad. But guess what? We're going to make it even worse. Right? Yeah. So, I mean, it's not just the mainstream, it's a lot of the alternative too. Now there's people out there that are looking for the truth and they're falling for the trap. And then there's those that know about it and they're still feeding the beast.
There are.
So we're all looking for answers.
Well, I think everybody's scared.
Got the answers.
Don't you think they're all scared? I mean, people lose their jobs over saying something innocent,
True. No, you're right. It's a system where people are nervous to talk about it, even if they know, because they don't want to be labeled that person. They don't want to be labeled the tinfoil hat wearing conspiracy theorist. And speaking of, I need to put on my tinfoil hat right now. I just brought that up. And I'm wearing shorts and a jacket and a tinfoil hat in my garage. And guess what? It feels good. I love it. I can talk about it. So where's your tinfoil hat? It's right here. And I wear this with pride. So with that being said, what can we do? We turn off the mainstream news for 30 days. The social media where people are pushing the mainstream news agenda, to say no thank you. Do something else for 30 days. What do you think would happen, Jay?
I think that the 30 days would turn to 60 to 90 to 120. I think the relief would be so great. I know because I've done it, and it is a great relief. And again, you can tell also who I can tell, if people are listening to a lot of news by the way they act and talk. They look nervous, they look scared. Excuse me. And I think, there's nothing to be scared of.
Well, I think it gets kind of nervous when you see the way people react. For example, when the media was pushing the rioters and the small businesses and people trying to defend their businesses, yes, the people that were trying to defend their businesses were morons. I mean, but I don't want to say they're morons. They were acting moronic.
They were.
But what would you do if you had a bunch of people around you and all you're like, oh, well, this is all I got, man. It's a, so I don't know, man. It's just, why would you do that? Why are you going after small businesses? What did they ever do to you?
They hate business. They hate anybody that creates anything, because they're the non-creators. And that's always been the non-creators. I've always hated the creators. There's two different kinds of people. And, some people get up every day and are just lazy, and other people get up every day and go, what am I going to do today? Right. And then, they build up wealth because they're that way. And then the non-creators want to steal the wealth because they don't have anything, because they aren't creators. So that's the war that's always been going on, I think, and will always go on. And they outnumber us too. I mean, the non-creators outnumber the creators probably, I don't know, 70-30 at least. So we have to worry about that too. I mean, you're a creator. I mean, the amount of stuff you create is amazing. How many hours a week do you spend on all that?
Much of the week. Like, Kristen gets mad at me sometimes because I'm down here so much working, and she's just mad because she wants to hang out with me, and I'm down here freaking doing podcasts and research and stuff, and want to. It's like an inner drive, dude. Like, whether I'm at the dentist or the chiropractor or at the gas station or at the bank, if I start talking to somebody, somehow it always goes off on a side topic. I have a really difficult time not discussing this kind of stuff. I'd be doing this wherever I was. I was doing this at my previous jobs and careers. I used to work for a Fortune 100 company in downtown San Antonio. I was talking about the same stuff. And now they call me up and they're like, Rex, you were right.
Yeah. That's the same thing.
Sorry.
I always like to say that 20 years ago, I would be invited out of parties. And now I'm being invited to parties. So,
oh yeah,
and I'm still saying the same exact thing that I always said, right? But now it's okay. Whereas 20 years ago, it was like, man, you're scaring everybody, right?
Mm-hmm. Right. So I think that if we got more people to unplug the mainstream news, because in my opinion, that is the biggest form of magic that is used to not only topple empires, but to mind control entire civilizations, to change entire generations, like, the Generation X versus Generation Z. You're a few years older than me. I mean, you're generation,
Boomer.
I don't know what.
Boomer.
Yeah, that's right. So now here we go with the labels again, right? So we're doing the label thing, but the only reason I'm using labels is because it gives people an idea to understand it a little bit better. So instead of using a label as division, we can say, okay, that person's different. Like, my grandpa grew up in the recession, man. He could make $10 last a month. He would split top ramen and he'd be fine with it. I mean, he died with over $1 million in the bank because he knew how to save his money. He was a school teacher. He raised 5 kids. They always had everything they ever needed and wanted. He's just an amazing person. So could we do that now?
No, but you can be whatever you want to be still in this world today. I firmly believe that, and I am living proof of it, because I grew up poor, and became exactly what I wanted to be from when I knew what I wanted to be from a young age. And I became that. I became successful at it. I didn't have any, nobody gave me any breaks or anything. I didn't have any family that was connected to anything. And so I encourage younger people to not listen to people who tell you that the whole world's already locked up. You can't get in. You can get in. If you're smart, you work hard, and you got good ideas, and you're courageous, you can get into anything.
Absolutely. Do what you're meant to do. What's your passion? Figure out a way to incorporate that. I was going to say also, with the time we're living in now with these micro communities, if we can figure, like, you're in a perfect example. Your community could be the absolute perfect spot to do something that I'm sure you've envisioned and I've envisioned and many others, is you create a system that's completely self-sufficient. You create an energy grid where you could be crypto mining, possibly with energy that you're getting from the sun or from the wind. And then you could do all sorts, you could have a laboratory out there, do some neat botany, and there's just so much we can do here.
Really
And that place is cool because I've seen a lot of people there. They're you're there for a reason, man. You're the boss.
I am 100% off the grid, by the way. Just last couple of days, I got my solar hot water, which heats my floor and my water, and to put in. And so I'm now 100% off the grid. It's amazing. I can't believe it. I got 20 boxes going of food growing and a greenhouse. And I encourage everybody to do the same. Start growing your own food. It's going to get tight. There's going to be food shortages coming. Just watch Ice Age Farmer or Oppenheimer Ranch, and they'll tell you what's going to happen here. It's coming very soon. So
Diamond Dave from Oppenheimer Ranch and
awesome.
Also David Dubine. Those are two of my favorite people. They've expanded my mind so much. And also Greg Allison has just done a wonderful job. Those are wonderful people. And you asked me earlier, so I'm just like, who has really impacted me? So Diamond has done a lot of things from like what you're doing, right? So he does like the off-grid stuff. But he kind of showed me once when we went out and looked at those trees at above 9,000 feet, because there's so many trees, right? It's terrible. It's horrible.
Absolutely.
And dude, I thought it was like a collapsing atmosphere. I mean, I'm thinking
it's not the Beatles. Is it?
It's the Beatles. We went and looked. We did. I didn't believe you. I even said, I was so convinced it wasn't Beatles. You know what I said? I said, if it's the Beatles, then I'll call myself an idiot or something like that. And I did. I'm an idiot. I made a mistake, but I learned. So we went out there and we looked at it again. The first time I went out there, I was looking at all these trees and I didn't see any Beatles. I didn't see a lot of damage, but it's from years ago, right? So the Beatles killed these trees years ago, and then they start, and then they move out. Right. And then he showed me how you could actually see the damage, and it eats through like the fiber of the outside of the trees. And because they're already at higher elevation, so you've got, less oxygen, you've got more cosmic rays coming in, you've got a weakened magnetosphere combined with the Beatles at that higher elevation. So yeah, there's a ton of trees that are dead, but I thought it was cosmic rays. So I'm like, I'm freaking out. I'm thinking to myself, dude, are we going to go outside and turn into crispy critters? But he's like, hey, look, man, you can see there's flowers growing. How are flowers growing if the cosmic rays are killing everything? Flowers are a lot weaker than trees. You know what I'm saying? And then you see all these smaller trees growing too. So you can see trees that are coming back up, and they're making up for all these dead trees. So the life's still going, man. We still have great opportunities, but we are going to see some extreme weather changes here with what we're looking at with these solar cycles. And that's wild. It's going to be wild times. And maybe the politics know about that, right? The MFers. They have to. So they follow it.
They have to. They've got to know it. They're leading us off the deep end here with misinforming us about what's going on. I went all the way to Glacier last summer and through Yellowstone, and every tree above 9K was dying. I mean, it was just amazing. Literally hundreds of square miles of dead trees everywhere. It was seriously shocking. Is there anything?
It's scary, dude.
Is there anything we can do? I mean,
yeah, absolutely there is. And what we need to do is we need to go out there and get rid of all the dead trees before there's a fire. And how do we pitch this to the MFers? How do we pitch this to the politicians as well? We say, look, you're complaining about carbon getting out in the atmosphere. You're saying that we're farting too much, and we need to have cows that have fart packs on them, because when they fart, it'll just go into the pack. Literally, that's what California wants to do. They want to put fart packs on cows.
They do.
Dude, what is wrong with this world? Put a fart pack on him. So, I mean, I'm sure there's some people that could use fart packs. I totally get it. But, dude, did you really have to do that? I mean, come on, we're in an elevator. So, but anyway, we got to get rid of all these trees. They're already dead. And then we can harvest the trees. You could create houses with the trees. You could use the trees for furniture. You could use the trees for all sorts of different things. So instead of letting them just sit there and be an eyesore, because trees are growing, dude. Trees are growing underneath them. You will see, if you go out there, you're going to see all these beautiful baby trees and toddler trees that are coming back up.
It's like the Forest Service just decided to quit working. That's what it looks like. They decided, I don't want to do our job anymore.
And I wonder why that is. I wonder if somebody stopped funding them, or, I mean, there's got to be a reason to it.
Yeah, because I mean, that's money, harvesting that stuff. They can make
Big
money.
bucks.
Yeah, and there's literally hundreds of thousands of acres of it. And
You know, and we were talking about this the other day, Jay. Think about all the people that need a good job, right?
yeah,
That is an entire new industry that would help the world. And it would also, if there's going to be a fire, I mean, I can't even imagine how bad the fires could be in some of these areas with these dead trees. I mean, look at what happened in California. They were saying that it was the trees out there, but the trees were the only things that survived. I mean, wait a second. Oh, man, I better put my tinfoil hat on for that one, Jay.
well, there's going to be a fire. There's going to be a hell of a fire if they don't get these trees out of here. And I don't know. Maybe that's the point. I don't know anymore. I don't feel like our government is our friend. And they don't seem like they're doing things for us anymore, just doing things for corporations.
Well, we do have one thing to look forward to. I want to buy a timeshare and shop. I mean, I'm really excited about the opportunities. There's so many activities for the kids. And, you know, I mean, think of how proud, let's say you don't have kids and you're thinking about having kids in the future. Think about the great stories you could tell them and tell your parents about how wonderful you're doing out there in shop. You know, you show up and you've got all the new decorations. You've got the wonderful stench. I mean, they really did a great job. So I think that they should run the country. I mean, don't you? I mean, dude, it makes sense that they're doing. I mean, that's a prime example. They're like, well, yeah, we're going to show you no police. Check out what we can do, man. This is chop, bro.
Yeah.
What you got?
We found out what you get. I saw a video of Raz getting arrested yesterday. You know Raz?
Oh, wasn't he one of the
leaders?
One of the
warlords making all
yeah,
super tough talk, and then he got arrested and he was crying.
Was he really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's totally normal for warlords. Could you imagine somebody act like a real warlord watching that? Somebody in Colombia or Mexico or South America, and they would probably, that would be like the funniest thing in the world to them.
Yeah.
They would get, anyway. So, man, it's the land of the free, home of the slave.
Yeah, they shouldn't have ever let that one go, but they did. And Seattle used to be such a nice town. I used to live there, but I wouldn't even go visit now. You know?
Dude, I lived in Northwest for 8 years. I loved Seattle. It was great. When I was a little kid, when I was 5 years old, I remember one of the things they asked if I could live anywhere in the world. I put Seattle.
Yep.
Because it was that cool.
It was cool.
And now it's so overpriced. And so you have to be literally psychopathic to think that what you're watching on TV is normal. Like, well, you know, this is what happens. Yeah, I mean, I got new hope, Jay. After seeing these protesters, I got new hope for the country.
Yeah. So what do you think? You think it's all because of the election? All this?
I think a lot of it is. I think that it's very interesting, the timing of all of these scenarios that happens. You go back to last year before the Cervasos demons got really bad. There was China makes landmark deal with the administration. There was a landmark trade deal made. And then the next day, that was gone. It was all Cervasos demons. And Hong Kong protesters, where did they go? What happened to them? And also there's the usurping up of Hong Kong now. They've launched the gauntlet. They've dropped the gauntlet. And yeah, where'd they go? Where are they?
They all got the virus and were disappeared.
Yeah, what an interesting way. Oh, that guy's got the bug. Get him. Oh, we don't like that guy. Does he have the bug? No, he really doesn't, but let's say he does. Get him. Yes, he's got the bug. Look at him. Get one of those faulty temperature things. Test it, check his temperature right now. Oh my gosh, his temperature's high. Let's protect the world. You need to come with us, sir. We have an injection for you. It'll make you really smart. It's got extra thimerosal in it. You're gonna love it. You're gonna love it. Can I get some extra thimerosal? Sorry. This is how I gotta deal with this, man. Because if you really think about it and you don't get upset, then do you have a pulse?
Yeah, China's going to become a serious problem here. That's for sure. I don't see any way out of it, man. I've tried every scenario. All the 90% of the restaurants in New York City failed to make their rent payment in June. 90%.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah,
Not unbelievable. That's just crazy.
they're all going to go.
90%. And I get it though, right?
Yeah. That's the other thing about Boulder. I lived there for 6 years before I moved down here, and up there when I was working at Gaia, and all the restaurants. The Med is closed. The greatest Mediterranean restaurant in Boulder is now closed. It was like walking through a friggin' ghost town, you know, and and it was like, wow, this is like earth shaking. This is going to change everything. They've taken away our movies. They've taken away our concerts. They've taken away our sports. I don't really care about sports, but I like to go to concerts and I like to go to movies. So I'm kind of upset I can't go do those things. And it almost seems purposeful to stop us from having any entertainment, to take our minds off of the troubled world that we're in, you know?
Yeah, let's lock people up and take away their entertainment. Let's make people stay at home and they're going to have to watch reruns. But you can still go to the protests. Right. Just make sure that you help Billy and Bob take that statue down right now because they're really mad at you. They're getting close. Crazy. I mean, they're close. We are at a balancing point, and maybe it's because they feel like they've lost control, so they're just releasing things. But I made a connection recently on a podcast that I did titled 3 Days of Darkness, the plagues of Egypt and Exodus being played all over again. Right. And the reason I titled it that way is because if you look at the play, see, I think that the Bible is like a code book. I think it's the manual that you can actually use to figure out what is going on because we live in these cyclical timelines. So a lot of the information in the Bible is astrotheological. You can look at the timelines based upon the charts and the stars. A lot of it has been taken from the Sumerians and the Egyptians and Greeks and other information, and they've compiled it. And I think it's beautiful. So I don't want to use the term plagiarized because it's beautiful if you know how to read it. I mean, it's amazing. But if you read it per verbatim and you think that everything that way happened the way that it did and you need to follow those rules, you're going to be crazy. Literally, you're going to go crazy because you wouldn't be able to follow those rules like to a T. Now, most people are like, well, yeah, back in the day it was like that because, and so I don't follow that particular. So most people get it, but still a lot of people are like, they feel like they need to follow those rules and be all fundamentalist. And then you get the fundamentalist scientists as well. They're like, well, I didn't research that and I didn't see it, so it's not real. I'm a scientist. It's like there's a division thing again. You got the scientists that are funded by the MFers and they go outside of that science that they don't want you to know about. Oh, we're going to pull your funding, sir.
Yeah, can't do that.
Okay, I'll stick with the parameters.
Actually, one of the most interesting things, I've never really talked about this before. But one of the more interesting things about the Bible is that I've read probably about 400 alchemy books. I have a huge alchemy book collection, and
that's awesome.
After I had read all these alchemy books, it took me like 20 years to read them, and then I read the Bible again. I'd read it, of course, many times before when I was younger, and I realized that the Bible is actually an alchemical text, and that they're using certain words in certain places to tell you how to transform your soul. And Christ becomes crystal and Mary becomes water, and people, once you understand the Latin and the Greek and how the words are flowing, you realize you're actually being told things, how to do certain functional things that will better your spiritual life. And so it doesn't even matter if the events didn't even occur. That's not the point. The point is that the words themselves will transform you. And I'm sure you're familiar with the Bible code.
Yes.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah. So what they did in the Bible code is you can put in questions and they put it through this computer and it gives you answers right from the Bible. It's really weird.
Wow. And you have to ask, like, how does that work? How can it be so accurate? And then if you get to the even older texts like the Torah and some of these Hebrew scriptures, I mean, it's just fascinating. I wonder if there's a book that was translated, it was discovered, and the top of this matrix, or in this physical realm, maybe not the spiritual, but they've got this book. There's like, maybe there's 101 smoking men around a hexagon table or something they've got the book, and they pull, okay, so now we're on page 666. What? Oh, yes, 2020. Bring in the 3 days of darkness. So the 3 days of darkness, when I did that podcast, I was looking at the 3 days of darkness, and there was several plagues: frog plague, locust plague, livestock plague, boils on the body plague. And these happened before the 3 days of darkness. And look at how many of those plagues have happened over the past year, with the amount of livestock that have been killed off, not only intentionally, but also from the bad weather, the flooding. Maybe they're waiting for Three Gorges Dam to topple. Right. And then after that, they could be like, okay, so there's the flooding, but the locusts are dealing with right now, right?
Yep. Africa.
So 3 days of darkness is after the locusts, man. And they're pushing that EMP. They're like, oh, we got to worry, man. Any minute now, China's going to launch the EMP. And you know what? They could. Maybe they will. But it's just interesting how the media seems to always pick up on this before stuff happens, and they're pushing it in the subconscious mind. Because I'll bet if China had the chance, dude, with our positioning right now, they've got people running in riots and running in circles. So most of our military is overseas. If they figured out a way to shut off power for a few days and then started bringing people in container ships, we wouldn't even know. They could be bringing over millions of people in container ships. We would have no idea until they decided to open up the gates. So, and what's interesting is Greg Allison and somebody else brought up that water thing. And the Vikings, dude, the Vikings were toppling civilizations that were far superior with technology, because they would come in on the boats and they would just thrash everything and they would take off. They were sneaky. So something to think about, something to be, just keep it in your mind. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Well, I think what happened is what I've heard is that about 7 years ago or so, the leaders of our world, of the West, went to China and sat down with the heads of China, and they said, well, we gave you our secrets, we gave you our technology, you guys have done really well, you've advanced really quickly, and we want to welcome you into the family of nations as a co-equal partner. And there's just one thing, that we want to ask of you in return for this. And they said, what? And he said, well, you need to liberalize your society. And they said, well, what the hell does that mean? And they said, well, you need to let Europeans move in here. You need to let Africans move in. You need to create mixed cities, intermarry with other races and things. And I heard that the head of China just went, stop. First off, we are not a country. We are not a nation. We are a 5,000-year-old culture, and you are not going to break our culture. And if you think that we don't know what your plan is, you're wrong. And we will never liberalize. And the people in the New World Order got up and left and went home and put Trump into presidency, started a war against China, which is what's going on here. Don't forget, this virus came from China. Not to mention the fentanyl, it's coming in from China. And we're watching a war right now, a war between two superpowers. And and strangely enough, the New World Order suddenly has stopped their globalism. They don't believe in globalism now. They just completely reverse themselves. Everything has to come back into the United States. They're putting all their money on the United States from now on. And it's the weirdest damn reversal you've ever seen. And so that's, I think, is going on, is we're watching a war, a non-shooting war between us and China.
Yeah, and I don't know, I can't confirm this. I just saw the headline, but there was a headline that said the Chinese party was they were giving weapons to Black Lives Matter protesters.
Yeah, I saw that. Yep.
I mean, this world that we're in right now, this nation that we're in right now is, like I said, it's teeter-tottering. You've got people worried about the Cervasos demons. You've got people worried about what's going to happen with the election, with the economies, there's just so many things. People are they're running around in circles. So that way they're in the fight or flight mode. So they're easier to control, and it's easier to bring out something next wave. I don't think they're done. I think something else is going to happen again before November. That's my opinion, and I hope that I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong.
I've heard it's a fake alien invasion. That's the next thing that's going to happen, is that they're going to do a fake alien invasion, and that we're going to lose at first, and then they're suddenly going to invent free energy and zero-G craft and all of the things that they've had in hiding for all these years, and bring it out, and then we're going to beat the aliens, and disclosure will happen. That's what I've been told is the next phase.
Now, would that be before November, or would that be after?
I think before. I really do.
Dude, that's next level, Jay.
Yeah, I really do. I don't think there's going to be an election, actually. I really don't. I think that that's not in the cards. And I think that we are in for the most red pilling that you've ever seen between now and November. It's just going to be one red pill drop after another until you're going to be almost like, stop it, stop telling me the truth. I'm tired of it, right? So that's where I see going. And I also, I'm also a great believer that there's no such thing as a slippery slope. I think as soon as you start slipping down the slope, you come up with an idea to stop it. And I think that, so the YouTube censoring everybody, it looks like a slippery slope, but at the same time, I know people that are working on alternative YouTubes that would kick YouTube's ass in. So, I'm not so sure that we are going into a darkness. I just don't feel it. I feel like some people are, but some of us refuse to go into the darkness, and I'm going to stand and fight against the bastards.
Right on, man. Well, you're a warrior. Like I said, you are an absolute boss, and I mean that, man. I respect you big time, and I think that what we're going through right now, and just us talking, is meant to be where you're at, where I'm at, talking to people in other areas that could kind of build these grids in a sense, like it's like a system within the system.
Yeah,
it's a way to, because if you create a community where everybody's helping each other, everybody's growing food, everybody's got some type of trade, or not everybody, but most of the people. Not everybody can always do things. I mean, you're going to take care of the elderly, you're going to take care of those that don't have the same capabilities we do. That's what we're here for, is to take care of those people. I mean, that's another thing, dude. The nursing homes are freaking nuts. And it's so expensive. And that's, people of that age should be at home. They should be, I mean, that should be the most nurturing times of their lives, man. It makes me so mad to think about. And they're paying people minimum wage to wipe these people's butts. The whole thing. It's just so sad. What has happened to the people, man? What are we doing, dude? What's going on?
Yeah, I mean, everything that they're telling us is exactly the opposite of what healthy people should be doing. You're not supposed to stay inside. You got to go out and get vitamin D, and get outside and take walks and hikes and eat and be with your friends and your loved ones. And oh man. Well, Rex, it's been really good having you on. You're a riot, and you have so much great energy, and you see the world in the right kind of way. That's all I can say.
Well, thanks, Jay. I have nothing but respect for you. Let's do this again. I'd love to have you on Lead Project soon. And I'll be at Creststone for the Energy Fair if they have it this year.
I hope they do.
Me too. Me too. Diamond Dave from Oppenheimer Ranch is going to be there also.
Yep.
And yeah, thanks for what you do, Jay. You're a good dude, man.
Thank you very much, Rex. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'm Jay Weidner, and this has been Reality Check. And I appreciate you watching. Thank you very much.
You're still recording.
It's not stopping. I don't know why.
Try hitting the record button.